It's on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Frazier. It's now 7:36, and I'm calling the meeting to order for the Housing and Block Association Committee. First, I would like to, for the record, have everyone say their name so that it can go into the recorded record. We'll start with the people who's on calling in by telephone. Can you state your name and if you're a member of the committee or the board?
I'm on the phone. I'm not sure if I'm the only one on the phone. My name is Neville Anglin, and I'm not sure if I'm on your email. And this is really the first time I've gotten an email from you, so I'm not sure if I'm on your member list.
Okay, would you like to be a committee member? Ms. Frazier can send you an application to add you.
Yes. If you want, I can repeat that email.
We can give it to Ms. Frazier later on, and then she can add you to the give you application. Thank you so much. The next person who's on the telephone. Hello, who's on the telephone? There's only one other.
With is it 56?
646 ending in 56.
No, this is Shaheem here. So for some reason, my audio does not work. So this is Shaheem Taylor from HPD.
Okay.
So I'm in with the host today to conduct today's presentation and training.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and next person, can you set your name for the record and if you're a member of the committee and the board? Anybody?
Hi, this is JL James. I'm a board member. I'm not a committee member, but I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Ms. James, Chair James. Next, Hudson.
Good evening. My name is Ayana Giles, and I'm a guest.
Thank you, Ms. Giles. Next person, Joseph, the last name.
Good evening. My name is Ann Hudson. I'm a committee member.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson. Next person. Hello.
Is that me, Pastor John, Kyron Leo John?
Thank you. Are you a committee member, board member?
I am one of the clergies, the pastor of the Rogers Avenue Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so I believe I am on some list.
Okay. Thank you. Next, for the record, who's online? Joseph, Johnson, Booth, any one of you?
Well, I am not on the phone. I just don't have my video on. Valerie Booth.
Thank you. Are you a member of the committee, board?
Yeah, I've been getting your emails, and I really am interested in what's going on with housing in the community. So I decided to join tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Edwin Joseph, and I'm not on the board, but I'm community member. Black Association is 37 between Foster and D.
Thank you. The last person, Johnson. Can you state your name and if you're a member of the board, committee? Hello? Are you with us? Last name Johnson? Okay. Well, we'll wait for them to get back on to this way they can state it for the record. For now, we don't have any minutes to approve because we don't have any minutes yet. Hopefully, Mr. Frazier, you can let us know when we'll soon get minutes so that we can pass them on to the committee so we can get it approved. Is there going to be anytime soon, Ms. Frazier, or? Okay.
I'm so sorry. I thought yes.
Okay.
I'm getting there. I will be sending out minutes to the committees as the minutes are completed. Yes, you will have your minutes. I just completed executive, so I'm moving down the line. I'm finished with zoning, the board. I'm getting there. Land use has been completed, and I'm moving down the line now. So by your next meeting, you should have some minutes.
Okay, that sounds
Okay?
awesome. Thank you, Ms. Baker.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, as far as the chairperson's report, I don't have a lot to report just yet. I am working on, well, I'll put requests in for the discretionary funds so we can make sure we have something going on for our housing fair and even for the block association. So I'll update everyone with that once I get the final word as to if that's happening. And so for tonight, we are going to go straight into the presentation. We have with us Mr. Shaheen Taylor, who's from HPD, who's going to be discussing Housing Connect with us. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Mr. Taylor, so this way we can start our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out today to spend some time with us and to sit through today's presentation. So some of you may be familiar with the website Housing Connect or the system of Housing Connect, but during this presentation is simply what I'm going to be covering. Is not only a live demo, but just some general information that you may or may not know that relates to Housing Connect, how to prepare for it, and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here. Windows.
Just one thing, because everyone who's not talking, put yourself on mute so that, because there's some noise in the background.
Okay, so again, as I mentioned, I'm going to be covering today's Housing Connect presentation, and I'm going to provide everyone some contact and resources towards the end of today's presentation. So again, my name is Shaheen Taylor. So I'm my role within HPD, which is the agency that I work for, is marketing outreach coordinator. And basically my job is to help provide not only information that relates to Housing Connect, but any Housing Connect inquiries, any complaints about the system. Essentially myself and my colleague who's currently on vacation, we handle, so we're a team of two, and we essentially manage all things Housing Connect. If there's any technical issues, then we escalate that to our tech team. So again, without further ado, I'm just going to continue on with the presentation. So today's presentation outline is going to be as follows. So we're going to talk about what is affordable housing. So what does that consist of? We're also going to talk about how you can find affordable housing lotteries, how to actually prepare and apply to the housing lotteries. As I mentioned before, I'm going to go over a live demo and showing you exactly how you would need to register and set up your account, as well as look at various different things such as your log numbers, such as how do you look at your applications, your dashboard, stuff of that nature. What to expect after you apply. That's one of the biggest questions. When people are using our system, what is it that they should expect? And of course, leave you guys with some resources and contact information. So in correlation to what affordable housing is, and a lot of people tend to misconstrue or misconfuse affordable housing for low income housing. Those are two separate categories. Those two separate, as I mentioned, two separate categories. So affordable housing is considered 1/3 of your income. So anytime that you are paying more than 1/3 of your household's total income, that is considered to be rent burden. So you should be paying no more than 35% of your total household income. Housing Preservation, which stands for HPD, or acronym for HPD, and HDC, which is Housing Development Corporations, our two agencies are responsible for the overall opportunities for affordable housing. So we collectively work together to post developments on our website, Housing Connect, to allow New Yorkers to move into affordable units. So they are privately owned, and they are for all household income levels. So whether you make 20,000, whether you make six figures, affordable housing is for everyone. The developments are privately owned. Both HPD and our sister agency, HDC, has an oversight role and monitoring process when it comes to the lottery. So we don't necessarily handle the tenant selection. We don't reject applicants. We don't request for documents. All of that goes to our website, not to be misconstrued or to be confused with HPD or HCC handling the process, but it's just a system so that people can load information into. So essentially, how does Housing Connect work? So when it comes to the overall Housing Connect website, which I'll go over as well during a live demo, Housing Connect allows you to find the affordable rental and home ownership lotteries for you. So we present opportunities for individuals to apply, and they just simply submit an application. Because you submit an application does not guarantee you a unit, but you're simply applying in hopes that you receive what is called a log number, which we'll also cover, for that log number to be low enough for you to be able to be afforded an opportunity at a unit. Now, again, I'll explain that more in depth later. To qualify, your household must meet the income and size requirements. So not only do you need to meet income-wise, but you also need to meet the size requirements for the unit or the units within the affordable development. When you are creating your household profile, which is essential if you are applying online, you must include all of the individuals that you intend to have in the unit. So that would be your children, that would be your brother, sister, roommate. If you are expecting, and we get this question a lot, people will ask, well, I'm pregnant and expecting a child. They haven't determined a name. Should they add that individual to their profile? The answer is yes, they should. And what we simply tell them is that when you're creating your profile and you're assigning that additional individual, that expecting child, and you don't have a name, the first name can simply be unborn and the last name would be baby. So that's perfectly fine. And it's to be understood, and this is something that we get a lot in terms of emails and calls where people apply and they are not, they don't receive responses. And the reason why that they don't receive responses is because they are only contacted if their application has been reached. So these are the different places where you can find affordable housing. So of course, the main source of where you can find affordable housing would be the public website. So Housing Connect, and I'll show everyone how to actually navigate to that website. There'll be instances where you'll find advertisements in newspapers. You can also go to HPD's website to find out more information that relates to affordable housing. HTC, which is our sister agency, they too also provide affordable housing opportunities, so you can also find affordable housing through their website. We also have housing ambassadors, and we're going to explain that more in depth during the next slide. That is the link on the bottom. And then, of course, we have community board and elected officials, and what I often will tell people is to take a screenshot or to take a picture of this information so that this way you have the links if you're looking for affordable housing. And if you are not, which is perfectly fine, you may know someone that may need or may be looking for the information, so you can pass the information along to them. So in correlation to housing ambassadors, what is that? So housing ambassadors essentially will assist the public in setting up their registration and household profile setup. What does this consist of? So we have 40 community-based organizations in 60 different locations. These agencies or these housing ambassador organizations speak in 19 different languages. They are across the 5 boroughs of New York City. That encompasses New York City, of course. And then we have specific housing ambassadors that will cater to individuals with disabilities. So more so specific to disabilities, we're talking about mobility, we're talking about hearing, and we're talking about visual. And one thing that is key of note is that applicants are responsible, after they set up their profile, they're responsible for monitoring their account. And the reason why this is stated is because there are a lot of individuals that have contacted our office after they've visited a housing ambassador, and the email was a housing ambassador's email. You want to ensure, and I'm going to show everyone again during the demo, how you should and would want to set up your profile, because when you receive notifications from the applications that you submit, you want to ensure that you as the applicant are in charge of your profile. So you're responsible for it. And although there may be some individuals that may contact us and say, well, someone else set up my profile. Well, unfortunately, if you miss out on an opportunity and you're looking for housing, unfortunately, there's nothing that can be done in the event that you miss an opportunity or a notification. So this slide here is the asset limits. So aside from applying to developments, there are also asset limits with specific AMI groups. And what AMI stands for is area median income. So this is determined by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So we call it HUD. So every year around April, HUD will determine what is the asset cap specifically for a certain percentage group. The easiest way, or the easiest way to explain this, and the reason why you see that, let me go back. The reason why you see the highlighted yellow is because for each AMI group, whether you're a household of 1 or a household of 4, that is the expected AMI, the expected asset limit. So if I'm applying to a development that is a 60% AMI category, the most that I can obtain in assets, so that's my checking and my savings account, is $84,720. In the event that an individual has more money than what is listed in this specific bracket, they would be considered over income and or over the asset cap, which could be reasons to reject the applicant. Because ideally, if an individual, for an example, saves so much money in their bank account, they save $500,000. Ideally, you would think that that individual would purchase a house or put a down payment on a condo, or they essentially would not necessarily struggle, so to speak. And this is not us assuming or HUD assuming, but they wouldn't struggle with housing because they have the funds and the means to afford housing, right? So this is just an example, and I'll correlate this to an actual advertisement so that this all comes together. When it comes to home ownership lotteries, so this consists of condos, co-ops, and homes. It's always the 175% that is taken into account. So if you're applying to a development that is a home ownership, the entire family household would be capped at the asset limit of $247,100. When it comes to occupancy guidelines, so this consists of the rental and home ownership. So this is the occupancy limit for specific unit sizes. So for an example, for a studio can fit up to 2 individuals. For a 1-bedroom, it's 1 to 3 individuals. For a 2-bedroom, it's 2 to 5. For 3 bedrooms, it's 3 to 7, and from 4 to 9, for a 4-bedroom, it's 4 to 9. So when you are applying to developments, you want to ensure that you're also paying attention to the chart, which I'll show you all, when you are applying, that your household actually meets the size requirements for the unit that you're applying to. So your household size must meet the occupancy guidelines, and households may be eligible for multi-unit types if you income qualify. So what does that mean? If I am a 1-person household, I may qualify for not only a studio, but for a 1-bedroom. If I am a 2-person household, I may qualify for a studio up to a 2-bedroom. And so as it would be if I'm a 3-person household, it would be from a 1-bedroom up to a 3-bedroom. So that's essentially what that means. So I must still qualify income-wise if I intend, or if the opportunity is presented to me, to get a different unit size that I'm initially anticipating. So when it comes to calculating income, this is a question that we get asked a lot as well. We have different ways in which we calculate income, or how you, the applicant, should be calculating your income. So for an example, if you work a regular job, which would be a W-2 that you would receive at the end of the year or the following year, January, it is your gross income. So this is your before taxes amount. It's not the net income from your paychecks. However, when it comes to self-employment, which is your 1099, when you file your taxes, you receive a 1099 for self-employment. It would be your net income. So once you minus your business expenses, what are you as a self-employer walking away with? So that would be your net. When it comes to other sources of income, specifically, it would be unemployment, disability, workers' compensation, Social Security or SSI. Pension is also considered income, public assistance. So if you receive cash, not food stamps, if you receive cash through public assistance, that is a form of income. If you receive child support, so this can be non-court ordered, this can be an agreement between two parents. If you receive money on a specific frequency basis, that is also considered income and should be included into your profile. Alimony, for those that unfortunately go through a divorce and you receive money from the other spouse, from your spouse, that too is also considered a form of income. Something that is not listed here, excuse us for the minor typo, gift income. What gift income is if you are receiving money from a friend, from a family member, and they're sending you $200 every month, that too can also be considered income. But please bear in mind that if you are receiving a form of gift income, that it cannot exceed more than $10,000. So if you are receiving more than $10,000, it caps at $10,000 for the year. So just bear that in mind. Another way in which you would qualify for our affordable housing lotteries is rental subsidies, or what's also known as vouchers. So rental subsidy vouchers may help pay all or a portion of your rent. You want to ensure that if you are receiving a voucher that you understand clearly if your voucher allows you, in the event that you apply to a development and your voucher amount is slightly below the rent amount, because a lot of people will say, well, I can just pay the $80 or I can just pay the $100. All vouchers will not allow you to pay that remaining balance that the voucher does not cover. So you want to ensure that you understand the voucher that you receive, and if you do receive a voucher, that you also indicate it onto your profile. So you can be eligible for for developments, although you don't meet the minimum income requirement. So if you don't meet the income requirement, but you have a rental subsidy voucher, your voucher covers the rent, you do not, as an applicant, have to worry about the minimum and maximum income. These are just a list of the vouchers in which we consistently see through Housing Connect. So Section 8, Housing Choices Voucher, City for HEPS, which is by far the biggest voucher in New York City currently, HASA, and among others. But please bear in mind that if you do receive a rental subsidy voucher, you do not list that as a source of income because it is not considered a source of income. So if your voucher is $2,000, you would not indicate that as a source of income. There's a section on your profile, which we will cover during the demo, where you would list the actual voucher. Now we're going to talk about the different types of lotteries, first starting with the rental lotteries. So for starters, anytime that we post a lottery on our Housing Connect website, they are rent stabilized units. So what does that mean? Rent stabilized means that your rent remains the same. The only time that you would be subjected to a rent change is when you sign a new lease. And the new lease, if there is an increase, is determined by the New York State Board of Rent, which makes the determination. So the landlord, the management company, HPD or HCC cannot say, well, you're paying $1,000 for the next 2 years. We're going to jump your rent up to $1,500. That cannot happen. You would only be subjected to a percentage in the event the Rent Board of New York State determines for that retrospective year that there is an increase. And you would be notified that information when you are gearing towards your lease renewal. So then we have initial lotteries. So think of the building that you're currently residing in. If you're residing in a building, that building becomes brand new. They need to lease brand new tenants. that is what is considered an initial lottery. Once those individuals move into to a building, so again, thinking about the building that you currently reside in, those individuals are going to sign 1 and 2 year leases. People move all of the time. People vacate units all of the time. So that brings us to what is then called the re-rental mini lottery. So a re-rental mini lottery means that an individual that was awarded a unit in the building that you reside in, they move to a different building, or maybe perhaps they moved out of state. Because that development or that unit was advertised in Housing Connect, that unit then goes back into Housing Connect, and Housing Connect will then search for applicants that meet the income requirements for that unit, and then begin to contact applicants to see if they're interested in renting the unit that was vacated. A re-rental wait list, for an example, or in this case, is in the event that, let's say for an example, there's a building that has 200 units and they're expecting 50 vacancies. Housing Connect will advertise what is called a wait list. So it enables people to be able to apply to a specific building, and as the vacancies become available, individuals are then pulled from that list to have an opportunity to move into those vacated units. Bear in mind, when it comes to specifically rental lotteries,
This thing's actually, the technology is wonderful. This thing died.
I'm sorry, if you could just mute yourself. If there's any questions, we're going to save that towards the end. That would be greatly appreciated. So you cannot own a home.
1 second, please. Ms. Booth? Ms. Booth? Ms. Booth, I keep muting you and you keep unmuting yourself, and you're Ms. Booth, please do not unmute yourself, please. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
So when it comes to rental lotteries, you cannot own a home within a 100-mile radius of New York City. But if you've owned a home, that is perfectly fine. It just cannot be within a 100-mile radius of New York City. You would be deemed ineligible for a rental lottery, which varies differently from the home ownership lotteries. So when it comes to home ownership, what is home ownership? Home ownership consists of co-ops, condos, and homes. And we too also have individuals that will leave their homes. They will leave their co-ops. They will leave their condos. So those units, because they were leased in addition to lotteries, we also have to take that home, that co-op, or that condo, put it back into Housing Connect and find eligible applicants that meet the requirements for that specific home ownership lottery. And they will receive notifications to submit documents in order to prove their eligibility. In regards to home ownership, which differs from lotteries, is that with rentals, you don't have to have credit. With home ownership, you do have to have an established credit, which usually is 620 or higher. And there are instances in which specific developments will require you to have a higher credit score in addition to the cities. But please bear in mind that these are only eligible for first-time home buyers. So whether you've purchased a home in New York City or New York State, New Jersey, in the tri-state, if you own a home in North Carolina, unfortunately, you would not be eligible for the home ownership lotteries. So bear that in mind. And this is essentially my favorite part of the overall presentation, because I get to show everyone exactly what you would be seeing as a user when it comes to Housing Connect. So this is the getting to know the system function. And I'm going to walk you guys through how to register and set up your profile. How do you, as a user, once you've registered your profile, how do you find the exact lotteries for yourself and for your family? The benefits to applying online versus applying by mail, because there are benefits. It does not necessarily mean that it gives you an advantage or it increases your chances. So I don't want anyone to take that interpretation. And how do you view your application? So once you submit an application, how do you view the application? How do you find out what's going on? What is your status? What is your log number? And that's essentially what determines your place in a retrospective lottery. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a brief second. Give me 1 second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share our Housing Connect website. So the fastest and quickest way to find Housing Connect, I'm going to open up a brand new window, is to type in Housing Connect in Google. As soon as you type in Housing Connect, it is the first link that appears on your search engine. So once you select Housing Connect, the first thing that you're going to need to do as a new and a brand new user is register an account before you can apply to any lottery. So once you select register, there are going to be specific functions that you're going to need to complete, such as a username. So you're going to create a username that is unique to you. This is not to be used with an email address. So you would just, you could put your name. I could put, Shaheem T 1005, which is my birth month and birth date. Then you're going to be tasked with having to provide a password. Your password must include at least 8 characters, must have 1 capital letter, must have 1 special character, and must have at least 1 number. And when you begin to type in your password, it will actually inform you of that information. Then you would retype your password. Then we get to the much more other functions, which is your primary email address. And this is one of my best talking points when it comes to the live demo. A lot of us have what I would call an everyday email address, something that we use when we go to stores and we purchase items, and we provide that email address. And a lot of us perhaps with that email address get slammed, as I would call it, with 500 to 600, 700 emails a day. So bear in mind that when you are looking at your primary email address and you are entering this information, I personally and we personally best recommend not to use the email address that you use on your day-to-day. In addition, you do not want to use a work email address, because if you were to leave that agency or that organization, then you no longer have access to that email, right? But instead, it would make sense that if you are an individual that is looking for housing, to create an email before you register. So you can go to Google, you can go to Yahoo, you can go to Apple, you can go to MSN, you can even go to Outlook. Create a brand new brand new email address. And that is what you should incorporate or enter as your primary email address. And the reason why I say that is because with an email address, the only notifications that will go to that brand new email address will be housing notifications. So you run the risk in mitigating, or rather by incorporating or entering an email address that you use on an everyday basis, you run the risk on missing out on a housing notification. Whereas if you create a brand new email address, which takes, roughly 5 minutes, the only thing that will go to that inbox will be housing notifications. So you mitigate the risk of missing those opportunities or those notifications. And then we get to the additional contact information, which is in a method of 2 different forms. So that's either a cell phone or an alternative email. This is then where, as an alternative email, which is best recommended, and I'm going to explain that in a second, why that is. This is where you can put your primary email address that you use on an everyday basis. That is perfectly fine, because Housing Connect notifications will not go to the additional contact information. Of course, we live in a world where now 2024, a few days into the new year, or a month or some change into the new year, you can enter your cell phone number, and that is perfectly fine. However, there are a lot of instances where individuals, and I can tell you and I can attest to where we receive emails, we receive phone calls, where individuals are locked out of their account and they are attempting to reset their password to get into their Housing Connect account. Individuals are locked out of their account and they receive a notification that a development has reached out to them in regards to submitting documentation. However, they cannot get into their account because they're attempting to reset their password, and that password is being sent to an old phone number that they no longer have. So if you were to change your carrier from Verizon to T-Mobile, from, I forget the other carriers, Sprint, whatever may have you, Metro PCS. If you change your phone number and you sign up for an account with a phone number you don't have that number, unfortunately, you would lose access to that account because the reset password cannot be sent to a different contact method, which is why we best recommend, although we give the option, so we want to make sure that we give the option to users, but we best recommend using an alternative email. Once you've done that, you would simply click that you've read and agreed to the privacy agreement, and then you would click the Create My Account. Now, when you do that, what's going to happen is that you're going to receive a verification code. There's going to be a box that's going to ask you for the 6-digit verification code number. And based on what you provided as your additional contact, that verification code is going to come to that contact. You're going to need to input that verification code in order to finalize your registration. So if you have not, if you have not received the verification code, you can simply click Resend Code, and it will resend the code to that contact that you provided when you set up your registration. But in the event that you X out the box, which happens, a lot of applicants have done this, if you X out of it, you would need to wait until the very next day in order to re-register. There's a lot of applicants that have not finalized their registration, and they've closed the box where they have the opportunity to resend the code, and then they go back and try to re-register. And Housing Connect will say the email currently exists, and it will not allow you to register with that email because Housing Connect locks the information because it's awaiting that verification code. But once you've entered the 6-digit verification code, that is when it would take you to the login screen and log you into your account. So when you log in, once the system loads, this is what the screen will look like. It's going to ask you again for your username. Notice that it does not say email. A lot of people will register and they will enter their email address and their password and say, I can't log into my account. The reason being is because it's asking for your username. So ensure that when you are logging in, you're logging in with your username. If you don't remember that information, that's perfectly fine. You could simply click the Forgot Username. And if you need to reset your password for any reason, if you feel like it's been compromised, you can always click Forgot Password and change the information. Then you would simply click Login. When you log in, and how you would know you're logged in is that you will see your name in the top right corner. That is how you know that you're officially logged in. Notice that you do not see register. So as a new user, although this account has been created, I'm going to walk you through the steps of what you would need to do. So the first things first, you're going to need to set up your household summary. And what does that consist of? It's going to ask you of various different questions. So the first question being, what is your current living address? If you don't have a current living address, that's perfectly fine. You can simply click no current living address. It's going to ask you for your most permanent address, and you would just provide that information. If that is not the case, and you are typing in your information, as you begin to type in your address, as you can see, it begins to repopulate addresses. All you as a user would simply need to do is click on the address that is associated with where you live. And notice here where there's 4 areas that are grayed out. This is because in the old Housing Connect website, individuals would actually mistype their information. Thus, they would miss out on notifications. So we wanted to make it easier for the user to just simply begin typing in their information. And because this is powered through Google, Google will automatically pick up the address information as you begin to type the information. You just want to ensure that the information is correct. You do not have to indicate an apartment number or a unit number. And the reason being is because you would never receive mail when you are signing on to an account. So all of your correspondence when you apply online would happen via email. So you would never receive an email and you would never receive a call. Once you enter your address, there's other questions. So do any of these living situations currently apply to you? You would select what is applicable to you. Does anyone in your household receive rental assistance? This is this correlates with the slide in which I was referencing rental subsidies. So if you receive a voucher and you have a voucher, this is your opportunity and where you would indicate that you had a voucher. So by simply indicating yes, there are going to be options that are going to appear, as you can see here. In the event that the voucher that you receive is not listed, you would simply select other, and underneath where it says please describe other, you would then provide the description of the voucher that you receive. Once you've indicated that information, then there's the housing choices section of your profile. What is housing choices? So housing choices correlates to the re-rental, mini lottery, and the resales. So re-rentals and resales. This gives you, as the applicant, additional opportunities at affordable housing units. And what's interesting about this is that you're able to tailor it to your specific needs. And I'm going to show you exactly what that looks like. So are you interested in re-rentals and resales? And I would implore everyone, if you have an account, whether you don't have an account, if you have a friend, to inform them, sure, that they actually select yes. And I'm going to show you why. So by selecting yes, it's going to ask you what size are you interested in. So bear in mind that you must still make sure that you meet the household size requirement. So this is a profile where the household size is 1. So if you don't want to indicate a specific type, that's perfectly fine. You can just leave it at any size that matches your income and household size by leaving it empty. But if you're an individual that, you know, one person, more than likely they want a 1-bedroom, you can select 1 bedroom. That's perfectly fine, right? Then you would select yes. Then it's going to ask you what to confirm the neighborhoods that you're interested in living in. So we have 5 boroughs of New York City. So if you are an individual that has that was born and raised in Manhattan, by selecting Manhattan, you would check the box off. But then you can also go to this little arrow here, and there's going to be neighborhoods specifically in Manhattan that you can check off. And if there's areas of Manhattan that you're not interested in, you can simply uncheck them, and that's perfectly fine. Then you would simply select next. And also you can select multiple options as well. So if you're interested in Manhattan and Brooklyn, Queens, you can do the same thing for any borough that you're interested in living in, and neighborhoods as well. Then there's other questions such as, are you interested in living in a unit that's located with an elevator or located on the first floor? Of course, a lot of us would love an elevator. For those that shop, I have a 2-floor walk-up currently. I used to have a 5-floor walk-up. Never been in a building with an elevator, unfortunately. So I would want to be in a building with an elevator. Are you interested in a unit that has a flat entrance or an accessible ramp? So if you are an individual that has a wheelchair, or you have a motorized vehicle, or perhaps you have an electric scooter, this makes it easier for you to navigate those types of devices. So you can select whether that is yes or no. And then the last question is, are you willing to live in a building with a no pet policy? Bear in mind that every development must allow service animals and must allow emotional support animals, and you would need to provide documentation for those animals. So by simply selecting yes or no, based on what is applicable to you, you would then simply need to click save so that it captures your information. Then the next step it will take you to is the household members. This is where you would list all of the individuals that are going to be in the household with you. So by simply clicking add member, that is how you would add individuals. If for whatever reason it is just yourself, which is perfectly fine, and you need to change information, you would need to click edit profile, but we're going to pretend this is a brand new account. So these are the questions, same questions that is going to ask you: first and last name, that is what you're going to indicate, your date of birth. What is your date of birth? It's going to ask you for your social security number or your tax identification number, which is also known as a TIN number. Now, notice that the information here is listed blank. And the reason for that is because we understand that this is specific sensitive information. So you do not have to indicate your social security number or your tax identification number. You do not. However, you will be asked to provide proof of this information when you receive a notification to submit documents. So you can leave this information blank, and then there's other questions. So are you a student? So this is specifically for households that have children that are going to be going away to college. So this is not you as a student, you're in college, you're studying part-time or full-time. You would not indicate that you are a student. You can leave the information blank. But if you are a parent and you have a child that is going away to college and they're going to be dorming, however, when they are done with college, when they're on breaks, when they graduate from college, they're going to be residing with you in the unit, you would indicate that, yes, that individual specifically is a student. That is why that question is asked. You would then click next. Then the question asks is, do you have a disability? So currently right now, Housing Connect only acknowledges or has units that are assigned to 3 different types of disabilities: mobile, hearing, and vision. Those are the specific units, and the reason why that is because these units are essentially tailored to the individual's disability. So if you have a disability, you would indicate next, yes, and then click next. It's going to ask you, do you have a mobile disability first? You would indicate yes or no if that is the case. Then the next question is, do you have a vision and or hearing disability? You would indicate yes if that is the case. It's going to ask you, do you need a reasonable accommodation? The reason why this is asked is because we understand that individuals with certain disabilities may need the unit that they are going to be residing in to be tailored specifically to their needs. Some things. So for an example, some individuals may need extra guardrails. Some individuals may need a walk-in shower, stuff of that nature. Reasonable accommodations that can be accommodable are easy to be obtained. You know, if an individual is in a building that's only 4 stories and they say, well, they want an elevator, unfortunately, that is not a reasonable accommodation. It's specifically referring to the unit that an individual is going to be residing in. If you indicate yes, which you have to provide support and documentation with that as well, which is perfectly fine. The other question that it asks is, do you need an extra bedroom? So while this is not approved for every applicant that requests this, there's specific criteria within the extra bedroom in order for you to be approved, which is you needing a living aid. So this is an aid that needs to be with the individual 24/7 or a vast amount of the day for care, or if they have specific medical equipment that they must maintain and keep in their home. So again, you must still provide proof of this need, so bear that in mind. And then when it comes to the accommodation that you're requesting, you're able to provide that request in the please subscribe box. Once you click next, there's questions that relates to, have you served in the United States Armed Forces, National Guard, or Reserve? And then there's questions about ethnicity, questions about your race, so you can choose not to answer, questions about your gender, and of course, questions that relates to the pronouns in which you would prefer to use. Once you click next, it's going to then allow us to save and start adding income. And then that is where you would be able to be given the opportunity to add your income. So by clicking the add button here, there are going to be specific categories. You would just simply need to select the category that is applicable to you. So if it is an employment, you would simply select employment. It's going to ask you, who do you work for? It's going to put S. When did you start working for that retrospective company? In the event that you don't remember the exact start date, that is perfectly fine. You could just indicate the month, put the first of that retrospective month, and the year that perhaps you remember starting with that company. Now for the individuals that perhaps are looking to apply to jobs, or maybe perhaps you've applied to a job and you have not started that job and you have a job offer. As you can see, Housing Connect does not allow you to enter a future start date. So after the 7th, everything is grayed out. It will not allow me to select the 10th. But what you can do is you can select the date in which you receive that job. This question has no bearing or effect on your application. So if I received the job offer last Thursday, we'll just say, I would simply indicate that information. Then there's this question, are you an employee of New York City? The reason why this question is asked is because there are developments that have units also set aside to individuals that work for New York City. So by simply clicking yes, it's going to ask you, which this question falls underneath us, does your job have influence over decision-making in the affordable housing lottery process? So unfortunately, individuals such as myself and my other colleagues that work within my same unit, we cannot have an account. This is just a demo account, so we cannot apply for affordable housing. So I implore and encourage everyone to take advantage of the affordable housing lotteries because we cannot do so, unfortunately. So going back, I'm just going to simply click yes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click no. If I were to click yes, Housing Connect will not allow me to create this profile. Just an FYI. So now it says, thank you. Now we need to add details that relates to the wages to the job that we work for. Do you have your most recent W-2 tax filing information from that retrospective job? If you do, you can simply click yes. And it's going to ask you for the box information. So you would just have your W-2 in front of you and enter the dollar amounts that are listed in the boxes of your W-2. If you do not have that information, which is perfectly fine, you would simply select no. And then it's going to ask, what is your current annual income? So if you do not know this information, and a lot of people do not know what their current annual income is or will be, or maybe, that is perfectly fine. You can use this calculate income tool here to the right, and it's going to ask you for your pay stubs. So notice here it asks for the gross amount. So bear in mind that your gross amount is before taxes and before Uncle Sam comes and takes the money that he feels like he's owed. I wish we can not pay taxes, but that's unfortunate. So you would then indicate the gross amount for your paychecks. So you can add up to 6 if you so choose. And if they vary, that's perfectly fine. And if you don't have 6, that's also perfectly fine. And so this one, I probably worked at half a week. Just one example. Here I got 1,400, and we're just gonna just do 6 for the sake of this exercise. Now, here we have 6 pay stubs with the gross amounts of these listed here. Notice that it indicates that the estimated yearly income is this amount here, $1,250. Now, this number seems a bit off because it's asking me for my estimated yearly income. And the reason why is because I need to change my pay frequency. By changing my pay frequency and knowing how I get paid or how I'm expected to get paid, I can simply indicate that amount and the yearly estimated income will change. Now my estimated income is $32,500 for an example. Once I would need to write down this number, and then that's when I would indicate the information in this box here. Once I click next, it's going to allow me to save the income. And one thing key of note, when we did personal, it brought us to income. We just completed the income, but it did not bring us to the assets. And more often than not, individuals that are setting up their profile will be incomplete because they did not complete their assets. So what we need to do is select the asset tab and add our assets. Now, it's only going to ask you for the account type and the institution. Here we have the account types. So savings, check-ins, retirement, brokerage, and investment. If I select savings, scroll down to the bottom, it asks me for the institution name. I would enter the institution name, click save, and it's going to add that retrospective bank or that institution as a part of my assets. I'm just going to click cancel, because I don't necessarily need to add an additional asset. Just wanted to explain that verbally. And then once I click next, the next question is, do I own any real estate property? If I don't own any real estate property, I would just simply elect I don't own any real estate property. But if you do own real estate property, then you would need to click the add button. In this case, we're just going to click I don't own any real estate, save, and go back to your household. Now, as we can see here, underneath household summary, it shows that it's complete and green. And underneath our household members, it shows that the profile is complete. What this information means is that I now, as a user, can then begin to apply to developments. If you see red, if it shows that your profile is incomplete, Housing Connect will not allow you to apply to lotteries. So bear that in mind. Even here it says your household is complete. To apply for housing, go to open lotteries, and that is the next step that we're going to walk you. I'm going to walk you guys through. How do I find out what lotteries are accepting applications? I go to open lotteries. Now, currently right now, we have 34 rental lotteries. So as you can see, we have the rentals tab, and then we have the sales tab. So if I click the sales tab, it will tell me if there are any sales opportunities. So currently right now, we don't have any home ownership opportunities for applicants to apply to. But be sure to check it, week to week, every 2 weeks, because these lotteries have deadline dates. So you want to ensure that you're getting your applications sent in on time. Now, the biggest thing, the biggest time saver by far that you can do as a user, if you did not know this information, is use this refine search tool. Many often users would take and click view details underneath each retrospective lottery, looking at various different information. But what you want to do as a user is you want to click this refine search tool. What does it look like? This is what it entails. You would indicate your household size. So this is a one-person household. For the sake of this exercise, we're just going to put 35,000. You do not have to indicate the monthly rent. And the reason why you don't want to indicate the minimum monthly rent or the maximum is because you'll miss out on the opportunity for the details of specific lotteries. But the most relevant information is the household size and the household income. Of course, you can indicate the neighborhood, so you can select which retrospective neighborhood you prefer. Everyone has their preference, and that's perfectly fine. I tell people, listen, if you're looking for housing, apply to what you can afford, apply what you are eligible for, and if you don't want the option, should you get that far in the lottery process, you have the option to decline. It's better to, as one of my colleagues often tells us, it's better to have and not need than to need and not. It's better to need and not want, rather than needing and not wanting it. So if you don't need it, you can always decline it. But bear in mind that it's completely optional as to what you want to do. So you would then click search, and what it's going to do is now we go from 34 lotteries to 8. So I, as a user, just looking at open lotteries, I would have read through 26 lotteries that I'm not even eligible for. What this tells me is that these 8 lotteries, with my income, with my household, I am eligible for, and I should be submitting applications for all 8 of these developments. How do I do that? Someone may ask. Once you click view details, it's going to provide you information, and we're going to walk you through the key information that you want to be looking for. As soon as Housing Connect loads, just bear with me. Okay, so starting with the top, so it tells me when the lottery ends. So this lottery ends in 33 days. The date specifically is March 11th. This is the name of the development. Every development will have a name. So I, along with my colleague Anna, who's not present with me, she's on vacation, living it up in France right now. We conduct these presentations, so we ask in our emails when people are inquiring about their status, we need the development name, because we do not have a system that enables us to find out what is going on with your status with an application ID or a log number. Then we have the address information. So where is this development located? What is the eligible income range? So individuals that make at least $19,646 can apply, and individuals that make up to $192,610 can apply, but that varies based on the household size, which is located on the right-hand side. So household size up to 1, and the maximum household size 7 individuals. So here we will always have details of the development. So always be sure that you're reading this information because sometimes it will pertain to if it's a no pet policy or if there is a pet policy. If there's a no pet policy, that information will be indicated. It will also tell you what you as a tenant are responsible for in terms of your rent and what you would be paying. So this sometimes will be included, and if not, it will be included when you get your rental package, when you finalize the tenant selection for that lottery. To the right is where you always find the amenities to every development. The Housing Affordable Program, this just lets you know whom has the oversight to this development. So what does that mean? This means that HDC and HPD both collectively have an oversight role in this development. So how is this building being funded? How are the units that are discounted for affordable housing? Where is that money coming from? What programs are funding that for you as an applicant to reside in and move in? Bear in mind that there are no deposits or application fees, so you do not have to worry about that. There are some instances in this case where there's additional information with a specific web address where you can find out more details about the development. Going back to the questions that related to disability, that related to New York, you being a New York City employee. This tells me or tells you that there is a percentage of units that is set aside for mobility, vision/hearing, so 5% for mobility, 2% for vision/hearing, a percentage that goes to the community board, which is 50% currently. At least as of now until next month, this percentage will change. So if you see any developments to which you live close by, you want to submit an application because this means 50% of the total units that are being advertised. So this is a 348 unit building. So if you reside close to this Manhattan, New York Community Board 11 area, you want to apply because that simply means that 50% of the 348 will go to individuals that reside within the area of this building, as well as zip codes that are around this building. And then 5% goes to a New York City employee. Before we get to the Apply Now button, we'll get to that at the bottom. This is the available units and requirements. So this is where you find out the information that relates to the units. Starting from left to right, so we have AMI. So again, that stands for Area Median Income. The easiest way to understand Area Median Income is the lower the percentage, the lower the rent, the lower the minimum requirement. So as you can see here, a 30% studio, which is the layout, it tells you the number of units. So it's 8 units for this studio. The monthly rent that an individual will be paying is $498. So a one-person household would at least need to make $19,646. However, the maximum the person can make is $29,670. If your household increases before you move in, and I say that again, before you move in, the minimum will stay the same, but the maximum will increase. So 2 individuals residing in the home per an application would at least, the most they can make is $33,900. They make $33,901, they would be considered over income. If I make $19,645, I'm considered under income and I would not qualify. If I have a voucher that covers, let's say for an example, $600, $700, and I'm a one-person household, I don't have to worry about the minimum income nor the maximum. I just need to ensure that my voucher covers the rent, and I can simply be eligible for this unit. $700 again, I would be eligible for a 1-bedroom, 30% AMI, 16 units underneath the rent amount of $632. And there are going to be other AMI categories within this development. So again, here we see a 50% studio, 13 units. The studio then increases to $922 in rent as opposed to the $498. So again, going back to what I said, the easiest way to remember AMI, Area Median Income, the lower the percentage, 30%, the lower the monthly rent, the lower the minimum income. So if we were to go back to that 50% studio, the rent goes to $922, and as opposed to having $19,000, we're just going to round it to a whole number. Now I would need to at least make $34,183 as a one-person household. However, my maximum also increases, so the most that I can make is $49,450. And that's how you would look at the advertisements when you are applying to developments. So it's always going to tell you the AMI percentage. So again, a 60% studio is now $1,000, $1,100. And now the minimum is $41,442. So just bear that in mind. Then when we get to we scroll past the available units tab, this is the location. So it will tell you what is nearby the vicinity of this development. So if I click the A button, which is here, it's going to show me where in the vicinity is this building located. So this is actually a snapshot from Google. So all of this information will appear in Google for you to see. So if you're looking at nearby schools, train stations, subways, any police stations, parks or hospitals, if you're curious to see, and also it will tell you what nearby subway stations are there. So you'll be able to see that information as well. Underneath this will always be photos. There'll be instances where there'll be floor plans for those that are looking to see exactly the size units, what do they encompass, how is the framework of the actual unit or the room. You'll be able to see that in certain developments. They're not applicable to all. Please excuse the blank image here. Housing Connect sometimes does that, but what you can do is just click refresh, and it will the photo will pop up. And then we get to the who should apply. So individuals or households who meet the income and household size requirements. So again, you must make sure that you meet the income and household size requirements. Qualified applicants will be required to meet additional selection criteria. What does this mean? So this means that when you apply, you will need to meet additional selection criteria such as proving your eligibility. If I say that I make $50,000, I make $30,000, I make $20,000, I need to provide pay stubs, W-2s, taxes that prove that information. If I say that I have a checking account, I need to provide my checking account information, my savings account information, stuff of that nature. Applicants who live in New York City receive a general preference for apartments. What does this mean? While our affordable housing lotteries are for everybody to apply to, Housing Connect specifically will first look for applicants that live within the 5 boroughs of New York City. So if you live outside of the 5 boroughs of New York City, then you are given what is called a low priority. And the only way for an individual as such, in order to be given an opportunity for an affordable unit, that development would need to first determine that all the applicants that live within the 5 boroughs of New York City have either been ineligible or they've leased up all of the applicants that are eligible for units, and the remaining units that remain over then would go to individuals that live outside of the 5 boroughs of New York City. Because you created an account online, all you would simply need to do is click this Apply Now button, and you would automatically submit an application for this development. If you do not want to create an account, which is extremely optional, you can apply by mail. HPD nor HDC has applications on file. There is not one application that encompasses all the developments that are accepting applications. Each development has specific instructions on how you would need to apply by mail, and that information will always be listed at the bottom. So you would simply need to send a self-addressed envelope to the information that is listed on the bottom. You do not want to submit duplicate applications. So you don't want to submit an online application and submit a mail application thinking that it may increase your chance. That is not the case. You submit one application per lottery. In the event that you do send duplicate application, it can be grounds for disqualification, and you will be rejected for that development. If I'm applying by myself and I'm applying with, let's say, a roommate to the same development, trying to increase my chances, that is considered a multiple application as well. So you want to ensure that if you are applying, or if you're applying with someone, that it's only one application with your name attached to that application, or to the application, should I say. Two things, and then I'm simply done with the Housing Connect demo. We're going to go to the dashboard. So this is where you would see, once you've applied to development, what is going on with your application. So this is your nucleus, as I call it, for Housing Connect. Here you will see my application summary, and there are going to be 4 different statuses: pending and process, action required and completed. To go over this, to provide clarity on what these statuses mean. So pending just simply means that you've applied to a development. I've applied, nothing has happened to my application. Perhaps I was assigned a log number. There's instances where you will be assigned log numbers after, shortly after you've applied, or weeks after the deadline date. Usually you will be assigned a log number, and you have not received a notification to submit documents. So your application remains in pending once you submit an application. And process means that your application is being reviewed. And what will happen is that you will receive a notification to submit documents when your application is in process. When that happens, so when you receive a notification to submit documents, it will appear in the action required. This is by far the most important category, aside from in process, because any applications that require action, there's a specific instruction that you must do in order to continue that application. In the event that you do not answer to that request, you risk the chance of that application closing. So you want to ensure that you're always checking to see if there's anything in action required. Another reason that something may appear in your action required status is if you've been rejected. Applications get rejected all of the time for various different reasons, and we'll cover that later on. But as I often tell everybody, it is not the end all be all. The reason why is because if your application is rejected, you are afforded the opportunity to appeal. When you appeal, you must provide supporting documentation that fights against the reason why you were rejected. So perhaps someone deemed you rejected you because you don't meet the income requirements. You can provide more pay stubs. You can provide a W-2. You can provide an employment verification letter. That is what would be a supporting documentation to fight, a rejection for income. So just bear that in mind. Completed just simply means that the application that you've applied to has closed, so you can either withdraw application, it goes to completed status. You've been rejected and you did not appeal, the application would move to the completed status. And even after you appeal, if your appeal is rejected, so you've been rejected initially, you appeal, and then you're rejected after you appeal, you're afforded the opportunity to submit a complaint to either HCC or HPD, depending on who has the oversight to that development. And HPD or HCC's compliance manager would get involved and look into your case and see and determine if you should have been rejected initially. And if that is not the case, then they will continue to process your application. If that is the case, that the rejection was warranted to the applicant or the household, then it would also move to the completed status. To view your applications, you can do it 2 ways. So you can either go through your dashboard and click View All, or you can click your name and click My Applications. So we'll do it this way. And as you can see, it's going to tell me how many lottery applications have been submitted, so 99 currently. And it's going to tell me what applications are in what retrospective statuses. And then underneath here, you're going to see all the development names as it appears with the picture. And as you can see here, it's going to provide a log number. This is your place in a lottery. Bear in mind that these are randomly assigned, so it doesn't matter when you actually apply to a development. There are developments, however, that will not have log numbers underneath. And the reason why is because that means that the data entry for that development has not been conducted. So bear in mind when you are looking at your applications that you're looking at this key information. This is what gives you the indication of the likelihood are being contacted. On average, we get, I believe one of our deputy directors just provided us, the information of the amount of individuals that have applied to open lotteries. And we're almost at 1 million individuals. That's an enormous amount of people. So what does that tell us? What does that tell you? What does that tell everyone? It means that not everyone is going to be given a unit because we don't have 1 million units to give to everyone. But there are developments that are 300, developments that are 200, developments that are 10, developments that are even 3, 10, 20, so on. Those individuals that apply, depending on their log number that is assigned, would be afforded the opportunity to get a unit. So just bear that in mind. And of course, you can cipher through the pages that are on your dashboard. So again, it will always tell you lottery application submitted. It tells me, oh, I just applied. So if I'm an individual that applied to this development, let's just say for an example, and we can click view details, and it will tell me information I need to know. We are now in 2024. This demo account applied to this development on April 22nd, 2023. I haven't received a call. What's going on with my status? What's going on with my application? This application is still pending to see if my log number is going to be reached, because if my log number is reached, I'm going to receive a notification to submit documents. Now, when I receive a notification to submit documents, notice here it tells me that my submission window has expired. So when you receive a notification to submit documents, you have a specific window to submit your information. That is 10 business days. So once I simply select this, it's going to tell me when my deadline date to take action had, when it consisted of. Here, this application was applied to on, 29th of November, 2022. It's always going to tell you the required documents, so be sure that you are clicking on that link, and it's going to tell you the required documents that you are expected to submit. So in this case, if this was your account, you would have been provided a deadline date as to when you had up until to submit your documents. And to submit your documents, you would still need to go to the development underneath the documents tab, and that's where you would upload the documents for review. Everything happens through Housing Connect. And we're going to talk about what a mailing applicant would need to do shortly. In the event that I'm rejected, so I saw one where it showed that I was rejected. I'm going to unclick this. No longer interested. Let's not select that. It's not a good example. Because a lot of people, what will happen is that they may miss the notification. It happens all of the time. I often tell people, I just told an applicant today, check your lottery account. Check your account at least twice a week. You know, maybe you do Wednesday and you do Sunday. So if the applicant receives a rejection, it will provide you when the deadline date to take action is. It will also provide you the reason for the determination. So you did not respond to our first or second request for documents to confirm that you are eligible for this project. Once this occurs and the deadline date has surpassed, your application is closed. But if you are within the deadline date to take action, this appeal button, or this appeal tab as I would call it, or we would call it, is where you would go to submit your information. So you provide the reason for the appeal, and then you would add the documents. There would be, the submit button would be open for you to submit your information so that you can submit the appeal towards your rejection, so that this way you can continue your tenant selection. Last two things I want to cover really quick about this demo website. You can tailor the website to your preferred language. So if you speak and prefer to read in Spanish, by simply selecting Spanish or any language, it will automatically translate the entire website to that native language. So that's one of the cool features about Housing Connect. And then you want to also get acclimated with, I believe it's the Learn tab, the Learn tab. The Learn tab has videos and transcripts of different categories. So if you find yourself stuck in a loophole or you're confused, we're closed after 5 o'clock and you just want to know, okay, well, how do I enter personal information, household setup, income information? You can simply click the transcript. If you like to read, I'm a reader personally. You can read the information, or you can simply click the video and the video will play the information on how you can enter that information or how do you navigate that specific function. Again, making sure that you utilize the Refine search tool. So if you don't remember it, you can go here. All of this information is available to the public. The About tab is just about Housing Connect. If you're thinking about applying to some of the information I'm providing to you guys today, this YouTube video is about a 5-minute video, which I won't play for you today, guys, but on your own spare time, if you want to find out more and not so much in depth, but if you want to find an overview of what I'm basically summarizing during this demo, you can play this and it will explain to you exactly how Housing Connect and the lottery works. So feel free to use that information to your advantage. This is actually going to conclude the demo. So what I'm going to do really quickly, because I just have a few other slides that I need to cover for you all. So please, thank you for your time and bearing with me. I'm going to go back here and reshare my screen. So some of the information I've covered already during the demo. So I'm just going to explain again. So how does the lottery work? You have individuals that apply online once you set up your account. Individuals that apply by mail, so that would be the paper applications. There's a data entry date that is assigned for every development, and that gives us the opportunity to enter the applicants that apply by mail so that they have an opportunity just as well as the online applicants have an opportunity to prove their eligibility. Then we do what's called a log generation. So this allows you as a user to be assigned a log number. As I indicated, the log numbers are randomly assigned. Online applicants, as I provided to you all today, you can view your log number by selecting My Applications. That's how you would see it. Paper applicants would not have that luxury. So this is the difference between an online applicant and a paper applicant. A paper applicant would need to contact our office or the marketing agent's office to request their log number and get that information. That information would not be mailed to them. Bear in mind that, again, tenant selection is determined in log number order, starting from log number 1, and working their way on up. So no numbers are skipped. You can't go from 1 to 5 or select who you want, or this person has 5 children and this person is just a single person, so we're going to put the person with 5 kids in an apartment over the person. It does not work that way. It's determined in log number order. If this person has a rental subsidy versus this person that has a 6-figure salary, it's not determined that way again. This is the logbook order of processing, which is subject to change come next month. So again, it's if developments have individuals with disabilities and that development shows a set aside units, the development is responsible for first finding eligible applicants that have a mobile disability. Then it will be vision/hearing. Once they've completed that selection of tenants, they then move on to the community board. Then they move on to individuals that work for the city, which is 5%, and these percentages equate to units. Bear in mind, so if there's 200 total units in a development and 50% go to the community board, that means that 100 units would go to individuals that live in the community board, and then the remaining units would then need to be deciphered based on the percentages of different categories. So then you move to the New York City municipal employee. After that is the general New York City preference. So these are individuals that do not have a disability, that are not a part of the community board, that are not city employees. That is the general New York City preference. There are some developments that have senior preferences, and you must be 62 years and older. We don't have that many senior developments, but from time to time we do post them. And then last but not least would be the non-New York City residents, which is considered low priority in Housing Connect. So these are individuals, again, that live outside of the 5 boroughs of New York City. We've covered the application dashboard, but again, there's 4 different statuses depending and process action required and completed. Again, the most by far important status is action required. And if you've only submitted an application, if you've been assigned a log number, if you have not received a notification to submit documents, your application will stay the same until you receive that notification. These update in real time, so you will always know as a user your status when you apply online, whereas a mailing user or a person that applied by mail would need to contact us, and we're going to cover what that information would consist of. When you receive an appointment for eligibility, so this is when you receive a notification to submit documents. The key thing of note is that it's not an interview. An interview, for those that have had jobs, that are currently working at their respective organizations, you have to be asked a series of questions, and provide experiences and have them to be good enough for an individual that's asking you that information to find you a qualified candidate for that job. And you're judged based on other individuals that are also applying to the same job. Your appointment of eligibility is not an interview. It's just your appointment to prove what you said on your application. I said I make $10,000 on my application and I submitted it. I need to prove that I make $10,000. Doesn't matter how I look, doesn't matter how I dress, it doesn't matter if I have kids, doesn't matter if I have a smelly dog, it doesn't matter. All you're doing is proving what you indicated on your application. Online applicants submit their documents via online. Mailing applicants would need to submit their information via mail, but both mail and online applicants have the option to drop off their information. The documents are in fact kept secure and they are confidential, so your information is not phished, it is not sent, it is not sold out to the public for you to be scammed, so you don't have to worry about that. One thing that is, another thing that's key of note is that not every household invited to an appointment for eligibility will be afforded a unit, even if they are eligible. The reason why this is because a lot of these developments want to lease up their buildings as quickly as possible. So because there are only a limited amount of units, and because some individuals do not respond, because some individuals get all the way up till the lease signing and withdraw their application. That has happened a number of times. Not every household that is invited or that submits documents, it does not guarantee you a unit. You're just simply submitting documents in hopes that you receive that confirmation email or that call, which can happen, that your documents are being sent to HPD for review. Again, as I mentioned, there are no fees, so the only fee that you will be subjected to is a credit check fee that is $20, and you'll only charge that when it's determined that a unit is for you and your family. The credit and background check, so again, you cannot be rejected for your credit score. So if you have bad credit, if you have no credit, if you have great credit, you can be rejected for rental lotteries. But what you can do is provide proof of positive rental history, which can be substituted for a credit check, or you can provide your own credit check, or you can provide your own evidence of positive rental payments. However, you can be rejected in the event that you file bankruptcy within the last 12 months, or you have any open or unsatisfied delinquencies that are in collections that exceed $5,000. But it excludes medical and student debt. So these two categories do not count if you have delinquencies within that dollar amount over 120 days due. These are just the different possible reasons for rejection. So if you submit multiple applications, if you're below the minimum income without a rental subsidy voucher, if you're over the maximum income, if you have an incomplete application, this happens all the time. Individuals will request a paper application and not sign it. That gives us the authorization to enter their information. If you fail to submit documents, so you received a notification to submit information and you did not answer to that request. If your information is constantly changing, that is considered inconsistent information. Non-proof of interdependency, so if me and my roommate intend to move to an affordable unit and we don't have shared assets, that's non-proof of interdependency. We need to have shared assets, shared bills. We need to show if we were living together previously in a different, we were renting a room together, we need to show proof of that information. As we covered already, the asset limit, so every development has an asset limit. per the area median income that is assigned to that development. If you've owned property within the 100-mile radius of New York City, and as we just covered, the credit and criminal background. As I mentioned before, if you get rejected, it's not the end all be all because you are afforded 10 business days to appeal. That appeal is then responded to within a 10-day window. If your appeal is upheld, which means that you remain rejected, you would then be afforded the opportunity to submit a complaint through Housing Connect, and a compliance manager will review your case and make a determination and provide you the actual determination of their findings. This next slide is just resources for all applicants. So this is information that we do sometimes bring to our tabling events. So feel free to take a picture or a screenshot of the URL link so that this way you too can educate yourself. And if you don't need it again, please provide the information to a colleague, to a friend, to a family member. Information is free. It's what you do with it that counts, as I always say. So just please bear that in mind. If you don't need it, somebody else out there certainly does. Give everyone about 3 seconds just in case. And that basically concludes today's presentation. Now, again, I just want to thank everybody for their time and attention. Thank you for taking out your extremely busy evening on this lovely Thursday. I think today's Thursday, Wednesday, excuse me. I got my days mixed up. Again, my name is Shaheem Taylor. I work for HPD. Our hotline number, which I'll also put in the chat, which is open from 9 to 5. So if you give us a call, and if you don't get through, which we get a lot, we get tons and tons of calls, please feel free. I personally say feel free to email us, and that email is nychousingconnect@hpd.nyc.gov. Myself and my colleague Anna, again, who's away on vacation, I'm a little jealous because she's in France. We manage this email, and we get tons of emails. We answer these emails in real time. Currently, right now, I'm managing the entire email by myself. So I'm answering every single individual as I possibly can, and I try to ensure that there isn't a day where emails are left over. So please, if you have any questions, if you have any complaints, if you're inquiring, you need more information about affordable housing, where to go, how to do it, feel free to email us. I'll also provide that information in the chat, but I just wanted to say thank you for your time and attention. I'm going to turn it back over to the host, and if there are any questions in the chat, I'm going to go to that and answer those. But thank you guys so much, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. This was a wonderful presentation, and I appreciate your time and coming down to speak with us. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Taylor while he's here? Raise your hand. No questions? You sure? We got him here. This is the perfect time.
I have a question.
Okay. Who's speaking?
My name is Neville.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, if someone owns a home in New York City, I think I may have missed this part. If someone owns a home in New York City, which is within the 100-mile limit, can they apply for a rental, or are they both rental and purchasing?
You said it's within the 100-mile radius?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, they would not be able to apply for any rental nor home ownership. So home ownership, you have to be a first-time home buyer. And for rentals, it has to be 100 miles outside of New York City.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Next up, Pastor Kyron.
Yes. Thank you so much for the powerful presentation. I am connected to the Northeastern Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. I was somewhat the person who promoted the units, while the towers, the annex, I don't know if how much you know about it there on Guy R. Brewer was were erected. What jurisdiction do you have over affordable housings like the Northeastern Conference Annex? Do you have any jurisdiction over that?
You said the annex?
Well, the towers, we call them the towers, and the one that was just built, we call them the annex. NEC, Northeastern Conference Annex. You heard of that?
No, I'm not familiar with that. But what I would say, Pastor, funny enough, I actually go to church myself. What I would say is if you can email me, or I'll also provide my direct line in the chat. Give me a call tomorrow so we can speak more in depth about that, and I can find out the information for you if we do or whether we don't. If it wasn't advertised in Housing Connect, then we do not, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's in Housing Connect. My name is still on there. I get calls at least once or twice a week. I just checked a few minutes ago to find out where these individuals are getting my phone number and my name. And they call me as if I'm in charge of Housing Connect. And I'm like, no, my name is, I just saw it. And so how do I direct them? I get regular calls, and not just for our annex or our affordable housing units. They think I have something to do with Housing Connect. And so how do I redirect them?
You can provide them our hotline number. They can give us a call. Again, it's 212-863-7990. Again, that's 212-863-7990.
And that's your direct, you said that's?
No, that's our hotline. So we have a team of we have a team of over 20 project managers. So some of us do work from home on select days. My work from home days personally on Monday and Tuesday. So if an individual calls me in the office on those days, I won't be there to answer. But if they send an email to our Housing Connect email, which I'm responding to 5 days a week, I can get to that. But if they contact our hotline, we have team members that are always in the office between the hours of 9 to 5, usually 8 to 4, 9 to 5, 10 to 6. But the hotline specifically for answering phones is 9 to 5.
Okay, Shaheem Taylor. And you said you do have your email there, NYC.
Provide no email. I can put that in the chat for everyone as well.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I have my email on my phone. I just don't answer emails on the weekends. I save, I separate work from my personal life. I have 2 children, and a lovely girlfriend. So I don't want to take away their time with work. So weekends I am not available, but Monday through Friday I am available so long as I am not away on vacation. But you can have them email me. You can have them contact me by my direct line or the hotline or the Housing Connect email. So there's different methods of communication.
All right. If you don't mind, I would like to give you a call sometime because I'm very much interested in housing.
Okay. Absolutely. Give me a call. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Pastor, for that question. Thank you so much. Next, we have Kim Mormon. You have a question? Your hand is raised.
Yes, good evening. This is Kim Mormon. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for this very informative presentation. I just wanted to ask you, when a person is application is approved and everything goes through, like all the stages, do we still have to, because I know that you said something like the fee or something, they don't charge the fee or something. I'm assuming you mean like the application fee for the process?
So there, excuse me, I'm sorry. So there are no application fees to any of our developments. There are no application fees. There's no brokerage fees. So you don't pay any fees for an application, submitting, continuing your selection process. However, the only fee, which is $20, is a credit check fee. So if you don't have a copy of your credit report,
Okay.
then you can elect to have your credit run. If you do not want that option, the other option would be for you to provide proof of rental history. So if you are currently residing at an apartment, you can provide 12 months of positive rental history. So if you don't have positive rental history, then the next available option will be the credit check fee, or the credit check option, $20.
Okay, and then the other thing is, you have to pay the security deposit and the rent, right? When you get approved, after everything is completed?
Correct. It's
Like
just a security deposit.
Security,
by the way, if you don't have the security deposit, you can speak to the management company, and what you can do, this is something that people do not know, but what people can do is that they can pay additional money towards their rent that goes towards that security deposit.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Ms. Norman.
That's it. Thank you.
We have a question from the chat from Adele. She wants to know, how does citizenship come into play?
So when it comes to citizenship, there just at least has to be one member in the household that earns taxable income. So you do not have to have a green card. You do not have to be a New York citizen or U.S. citizen, should I say, excuse me. You do not have to have that. But there has to be someone that is making or that earns taxable income. That is all. So if you don't have New York in the U.S., you can still apply.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Taylor? Speak now. Hold your peace. Anyone on the telephones? Do you have any questions? Going once. Going twice. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much, Mr. Taylor, for coming out here again this evening and talking with us. And if anyone else has any questions later on after we hang up, he's given his email address, so you can email him with your questions. And thank you so much for that. And okay, we're moving on to the next topic, which is any new business? Any new business? No one has new business? Any old business anyone wants to discuss? No old business? Okay, so does anyone wants to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, it's Al Bennett, committee member.
Thank you. And so it is now 9:20. I now call this meeting adjourned, and I would like all of you to have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming out, and thank you.
Gosh.
Who said that? Is something wrong?
Zenobia McNally.
Did you need
unmute?
Quick question. It's not about just in terms of members of this committee. I received this email to join. Does that mean I am a member of this committee? I believe I did call in and I chose a number of committees. I think this is one of them.
Okay, just let's check with Ms. Frazier to see if she has you on a list down as being a committee member. And if
Pastor
not, we'll
John
propose.
has been on that committee for quite some time. It's a pleasure having you on tonight.
Oh, okay, well then welcome back, Mr. Pastor.
All right. So by God's grace, you'll see me more often, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
And everyone else, have a great evening.
I was unmuting because I wanted to say something.
Oh, we don't, okay, go. Although we adjourned, I guess go ahead and speak. I just
No, because I wasn't able to get on earlier. I had a lot of problem getting onto the meeting, but I wanted to update you quickly, let you know that we will be having the meeting, the folks regarding the Sears development here on Bedford Avenue. And the developer will be there. We just got a message this afternoon that Clipper developer will be there to do a presentation to let us know what it is exactly that they're doing. So I will forward the revised information to you, Ms. Fraser, and to you, Ms. Fields, if you'd like to share with the team.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Please forward to me. I'll send it out.
Yes, I will definitely do that too.
Thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Ms. McNally.
All right. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Have a wonderful. Good night.
Okay.
Happy Wednesday and have a good night, everyone.